Commander Zexai of the Galactic Coalition flicked his secondary ears in what his species considered mild amusement as he watched the human delegation shuffle into the council chamber. Their pale, fragile-looking forms moved with none of the predatory grace of the Kethemori, lacked the imposing bulk of the Thranks, and displayed not even a hint of the psychic aura that made the Veltar so formidable in combat. "These are the beings that wish to join our coalition," Ambassador Thurek rumbled, his massive crystalline form catching the chamber's light. "They appear ready to break at the slightest touch." The human ambassador, a small female named Sarah Chen, stood barely chest-high to most of the assembled delegates. Her thin frame looked almost comically fragile next to the assembled alien representatives, each species having earned their place in the coalition through demonstrations of strength, cunning, or raw power. "Honored delegates," Chen began, her voice carrying despite its softness. "Humanity requests consideration for membership in the Galactic Coalition. We offer our loyalty, our knowledge, and our—" "Your what?" Zexai interrupted, his mandibles clicking in derision. "What could your species possibly offer? You have no natural armor, no venomous fangs, no ability to survive in vacuum. Your homeworld's gravity is so weak that most of our species would consider it a comfortable rest period." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Veltar delegate Kesthara tilted her elongated head. "Our scans indicate your bones are hollow like a bird's, yet somehow more brittle. Your reaction times are slower than our younglings. You require protective suits to survive in most galactic environments." Chen's jaw tightened slightly, but her voice remained steady. "We may not be the strongest or fastest, but nothing," Thurek boomed. "Strength is what matters in this galaxy. The strong protect the weak serve the strong. That is the natural order. What protection could beings like you possibly offer?" The human delegation exchanged glances. Chen's assistant, a tall man named Marcus Rivera, leaned forward. "Perhaps we could demonstrate—" "Demonstrate what?" Zexai's laugh was a harsh chittering sound. "How quickly you break. We've seen your medical scans. Your internal organs are exposed, protected by nothing but thin skin and fragile ribs. A child of my species could accidentally kill one of you during play." The mockery continued for several more minutes before Chen raised her hand. "We understand your concerns. Perhaps we could return when we have more to offer." As the human delegation filed out, Zexai turned to his fellow ambassadors. "Did you see how they retreated at the first sign of opposition? Weak in body, weak in spirit. The galaxy has no place for such creatures." The alarm began 3 hours later. Red lights bathed the coalition station as emergency klaxons wailed. The massive space station, home to over 50,000 beings from dozens of species, shuddered under repeated impacts. "Hull breach in Section 7. The station's AI announced in its calm mechanical voice. "Hull breach in Section 12. Warning, reactor coolant leak detected. All personnel evacuate Sections 15 through 20 immediately." In the command center, Zexai watched the tactical display with growing horror. A rogue asteroid, knocked off course by an unexpected solar flare, had struck the station's outer ring. The impacts had triggered a cascade of failures: hull breaches, coolant leaks, and worst of all, fires spreading through the oxygen-rich sections where many species lived. "Engineering teams to damaged sections," he ordered, but the reports came back quickly. "Sir, the radiation levels in Section 15 are lethal to Kethemori biology. The temperature in Section 12 exceeds safe limits for Thranks physiology. The toxic smoke will kill any Veltar who enter Section 7. One by one, each species found reasons why their biology prevented them from accessing the damaged areas. The Kethemori, for all their predatory prowess, could not survive the radiation. The mighty Thranks, despite their size and strength, would succumb to heat that exceeded their tolerance. Even the psychically gifted Veltar could not overcome the poisonous atmosphere." "Sir," the station's chief engineer reported, "we have approximately 300 beings trapped in the damaged sections. If we cannot reach them within the hour, they will either suffocate, be poisoned by smoke, or burn alive." Zexai stared at the display, his mind racing through options that didn't exist. The Coalition's finest, strongest species were helpless against this disaster. "Commander," came a voice from behind him. He turned to see Sarah Chen, still in her simple diplomatic attire, flanked by her small delegation. "Our ship is still docked," she said quietly. "We have emergency gear." "You?" Zexai's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Your species cannot possibly—" We volunteer, Chen interrupted, and something in her voice made the entire command center fall silent. Within minutes, the humans had donned their emergency suits and were heading toward the damaged sections. Zexai watched the monitor feeds in fascination and growing disbelief. Where the mighty Keth Mori could not tread due to radiation, the humans pressed forward, their suits simple but effective shielding protecting their fragile bodies. Where the heat would kill a Thranx in minutes, the humans endured, their cooling systems and remarkable tolerance for temperature variations keeping them functional. In Section 7, where toxic smoke would fell a Veltar instantly, Marcus Rivera carried an unconscious Thranx child toward safety, his breathing apparatus allowing him to function in an atmosphere that would poison most Coalition species. "How are they doing this?" Thurek whispered, his massive form hunched over the displays. But it was what happened next that silenced every critic in the command center. In Section 15, where radiation levels were climbing toward lethal even for human tolerances, Chen's team found a group of Veltar younglings trapped behind a collapsed bulkhead. The radiation was so intense that even with their suits, the humans had perhaps minutes before they would begin suffering irreversible damage. They stayed for 23 minutes. One by one, the humans carried out each youngling, returning again and again into the radioactive hell until all were safe. Chen herself emerged last, her suit's radiation detector screaming warnings, her own life shortening with each second she spent in that nightmare environment. "Medical teams to Dock 7, she called calmly over the comm, even as her hands shook from radiation exposure. "The Veltar young will need immediate treatment for smoke inhalation." As the last of the trapped beings were brought to safety, Zexai found himself staring at the humans with something approaching awe. They stood in the docking bay, these fragile creatures who had just walked through hell itself to save strangers who had mocked them hours earlier. Chen, her face pale from radiation sickness, looked up at the assembled alien dignitaries who had gathered to witness the rescue. "You asked what we could offer," she said quietly. "We're not the strongest or the fastest. We don't have natural armor or venomous fangs. But when the fire starts, when death comes calling, we have something else." She gestured to her team, these soft, weak humans who had just accomplished the impossible. "We run toward the fire. While others calculate the risk, while others retreat to safety, we run toward the screaming, toward the danger, toward the flames. Not because we're not afraid, we're terrified, but because someone needs to." Marcus, his voice hoarse from smoke inhalation, added, "It's what we do. It's who we are. Every human who has ever run into a burning building, who has ever charged into battle to protect others, who has ever stood between the innocent and harm, this is our strength." The command center was absolutely silent. Zexai stepped forward, his previous arrogance replaced by something he had never felt before in the presence of these beings. Respect. "The Coalition," he said formally, his voice carrying to every being on the station, "would be honored to have humanity as members." As cheers erupted from the rescued beings and their families, Chen smiled despite her exhaustion. "Thank you," she said. "But we were never asking for your permission to protect people. We were just hoping you'd let us do it officially." Later, as the humans recovered in the station's medical bay, Kezithra approached Zexai. "How did we miss it?" she asked. "How did we not see their true strength?" Zexai watched through the medical bay's windows as human doctors worked alongside alien physicians, these fragile beings who had risked everything for strangers. "Because we were looking for the wrong kind of strength," he replied. "We looked for armor, for fangs, for size. We never looked for courage." The galaxy, he realized, was about to learn that sometimes the strongest thing in the universe isn't the thing that can't be broken. It's the thing that breaks, bleeds, and still keeps moving forward. It's the thing that runs toward the fire,